Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Marella. I am a certified life coach and I'm also mom, also known as the Life Coach Mom. And today I am reviewing this Netflix series Maid. And why? Because it's a fantastic show. I'm going to tell you why I liked it, and I'm going to take you into a deeper dive into some of these major themes that I saw as a life coach. There are so many great life lessons that we can all draw from in watching Alex's story. And the three major themes that I'm going to explore a little further with you are relationships, judgment, and dreams. Before we go on any further, what is this series about? Well, Maid is about a young mom, a mom of a 3-year-old who decides to escape an emotionally abusive relationships. She does this in the middle of the night, and then we see her trying to pull herself out of poverty, trying to set up a new life, all the while taking on maid jobs and trying to navigate a system that's designed to help her. So let's start with this topic of relationships, because it's so easy to blame the system. And certainly there are things that need to be done better. It is a difficult system to navigate through. And for somebody in need, that's an added obstacle on top of the circumstance that they're running from. So absolutely, there is a break in the system. But here's what I want us to consider. What I saw in this series is not just a breakdown in the system, but a breakdown in all relationships. Let's start with the relationship that she has with Sean, her boyfriend. We see a breakdown in that relationship. He is an alcoholic with a rage problem. And I am not at all excusing that relationship. We should call out what that is, and that's wrong. That's evil. Nobody should live with somebody like that. And certainly he is fully responsible for his choices and how he treats Alex. Then we've got this relationship with her mom. How difficult was it for Alex to have a normal, grounded conversation with somebody who's anything but? The beauty I saw in Andie MacDowell's character as the mom with bipolar is she brought such a sort of whimsical, artistic point of view that was charming in some ways. It was more frustrating than anything, because how do you have a conversation with somebody who is not grounded? Her reality was very different than true reality. And I really did feel for Alex, because how do you connect with that when you've got somebody who's always out here and easily dismissing what's really going on? That's some of these major problems that she's even facing. So we see the breakdown again in her relationship with Sean, in the relationship with her mom. We see the breakdown in the relationship that she has even with herself, with her own identity. She herself is learning how to adult, how to be an adult, how to be a parent to her 3-year-old, who, can I say, she did a phenomenal job. The entire cast did a phenomenal job, because what really came across to me was her genuine love for her child. It was so pure and it was so magical at times. And the way that Alex could compartmentalize the weight of her life, put that in a box, and then direct her attention to her child. What she showed us is how truly present that she could be in the moment when it was just her and her baby. Her love for her child, it just cut to the heart. And we get glimpses into these beautiful moments of the two of them in nature, or connecting over a song in the car. And there are so many beautiful, tender, genuine moments between the two of them. The other relationship that we see is the one between Alex and Regina. Now, Regina is a real B at the beginning, right? There is no question that we all hate her. We hate her. We hate people like that. Yet, I think about Regina's story, because these are things that we don't know. We don't know entirely what her backstory is. We just meet her in present day and see how she treats Alex. And boy, are we rooting for Alex the entire time, even when she's messing up and making some really bad choices. But that's one of the things that I loved about the show, is that though we wanted the best for her, she's human and she didn't always make the best decisions. And neither do we. Bottom line is that relationships are difficult. My biggest takeaway in looking at all of these flawed and broken relationships, there's no way around relationships. We need relationships. The quality of our relationships really determine the quality of our life. And if we want quality relationships in our life, then we have to decide who we will allow in our life and who we won't. There's the family that we're born into, and then there's the family that we decide to create. So some relationships are blood, and we may or may not need to be there for the long haul. These are choices that you and I can make based on our circumstances and whether or not you're in a healthy or an unhealthy relationship. The second major thing that I saw in this series is one of judgment. At least that's what came to the surface for me, that how easy it was and it is to judge each individual person. Sean, Alex's mom, Regina, the system, and it's easy to point the finger at each and every one of those things, and rightly so. There is some blame to be shared collectively. But something that came to mind as I was thinking about this and reflecting on it more, that each of them has a story of their own. Again, this is Alex's story, so we're seeing it from her point of view, and it's a story that does need to be told because it touches on very important topics. But I couldn't help but think, what if this story were told from Sean's point of view? What is his story? Because we all have a story. We all have hurt and pain that we bring into our relationships. And there's a history there. There's a past there. There's an experience there that's caused him to act out in the way that he's acting out. Again, I'm not excusing his behavior, but it helps us understand to have empathy for somebody who ends up as an alcoholic with a rage problem. And I could say the same thing about Alex's mom, who is bipolar. If this story were told from her point of view, how different that would be. To be invited into the most private parts of her backstory. All I'm saying when I'm talking about judgment is how quickly we are to judge others. How quickly and how easy it is to point the finger and to blame our circumstances. And sure, there's some blame to be shared, as I said, but I'm naturally curious about what's going on behind the scenes, underneath the surface for all of them. And that goes for you and me too. Really consider a time where you felt judged for somebody who didn't know your entire story. And these are just naturally the things that I think about, some deeper moments of reflection that I do as a life coach. The third theme that I saw throughout this series is the one of dreams. This idea that no matter Alex's circumstances, that she was able to imagine there was something better. She was seemingly in an impossible situation to get out of. And sadly, many women don't. But for her, she had the audacity and the courage to dream beyond her circumstance. And she had a lot of obstacles that she had to confront. These obstacles weren't going away. She was living day to day. She was living week to week, not knowing what was going to come, but she knew that whatever was to come would be worth it and better than the reality that she was in. There is so much power in dreaming. And I'm not just talking about this whimsical kind of dreaming, but dreaming and entertaining in your mind what might be possible and what would it take for me to take a step towards what is possible. She didn't know her future. She didn't know what lay ahead. She knew it was going to be hard, but somehow she saw herself on the other side of the mountain, and she now had to take this journey and walk it herself. Let her body catch up to what was in her mind that she could create, this life that she could create for herself, for her daughter, this new beginning, this new journey. So what I saw in her was this glimmer of hope, the seed of hope that took root and then led her to take chances, to do the next thing, despite how impossible it seemed. All that to say, this was a fantastic show. And boy, do you feel all the feels. It really takes you on this emotional journey, and you feel rage and you feel this injustice. You want to step into that television and help Alex out. That's it, my friends. I'm wondering what your big takeaway was from watching the show. Did you love it as much as I did? And what do you think about some of these topics that I broke down for you today? I'd love to connect with you in the chat box below. Like this video if you did, and subscribe if you haven't. I will connect with you next time.